Attention passionate Montreal, Canadiens fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the Atlantic Division and it could shake up the entire conference. We're talking about a direct impact on Montreal Canadiens' path to another Stanley Cup run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Montreal Canadiens fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your FRINDS and Montreal Canadiens fans. Let's get to the news. Now, folks, we're in an interesting moment here in the NHL, especially for the Montreal Canadiens, who are always looking to strengthen their squad, to find that perfect mix of youth and experience that can push them back into playoff contention. And as you all know, the NHL's waiver wire is a constant source of news, rumors, and strategic moves, especially in the early stages of the season. Today, we're seeing something quite notable with 8 players being placed on waivers. And some of these names, well, they really catch the eye, especially for Canadiens fans who are eager to see what moves might be coming up or what opportunities are out there. Among these names, there are a few that stand out immediately, not just because of their past draft positions or size, but because of what they could potentially bring to a team like Montreal. So let's dive into the full list of players who hit the waivers today. We've got Ivan Fedotov, the towering 6'7" goaltender from UTA, who has played 29 NHL games and has a lot of potential. Then there's Liam Foudy, a speedy winger from NYI, only 25 years old, a former first-round pick of the Columbus Blue Jackets in 2018, who's shown flashes of brilliance in his career, tallying 22 points in 104 NHL games. Also, Julien Gauthier, another NYI player, a big and physical forward at 6'4" and 225 pounds, drafted by the Hurricanes in 2016, who's demonstrated his scoring ability in the minors and has 41 points in 181 NHL games so far. Now, what's really catching the attention of Canadiens fans is the possibility of Julien Gauthier coming to Montreal, and that's because he's a player with a lot of potential, especially for a team that's still trying to find consistency and build depth. Gauthier is known for his size, physicality, and scoring touch, and given the Canadiens' current roster needs, he might be an interesting option to add some punch to their forward lines. But beyond that, there's also the question of whether Montreal will move to claim him, or perhaps another name on this list, like Liam Foudy, who's young, fast, and still has room to grow. Now, let's take a quick moment to talk about the current state of the Canadiens. Montreal, for those of you who follow them closely, has had a bit of a roller coaster start to the season. There's been some high points, some promising performances, but also some areas that need improvement. The team's defensive structure, the consistency of their scoring, and the development of young players like Florian Exekej, who, by the way, has already been making headlines with his gritty style and physical play, are all factors that the coaching staff is focusing on. And with the recent injury to David Rienbacher, who's now sidelined due to a fractured bone, the Canadiens are even more motivated to shuffle their lines and explore new options. Speaking of Florian Exekej, I know many fans have been eager to see how he's fitting into the team's plans. His toughness and physical presence have become a hallmark of the Canadiens' identity this season. Just recently, we finally got some clarity on what the referee yelled at him during that scrum against the Leafs, an incident that sparked quite a bit of discussion among fans and analysts alike. Exekej, with his fiery style, continues to be a fan favorite, and his role in the team's future looks brighter than ever. Now, back to the waiver players. The fact that Connor Ingram from UTA cleared waivers and is now eligible to be assigned to the AHL is also noteworthy. It shows the depth of goaltending talent in the league, and Montreal might see an opportunity here to bring in a goaltender with NHL experience, especially if they're looking to bolster their goaltending prospects or add a veteran presence in case of injuries or slumps. But the spotlight remains on Gauthier and Foudy because they bring a different kind of potential: size, speed, scoring ability. That could be just what Montreal needs to add some spark. Now, let me give you a little bit more context about what's been happening around the league and how it influences Montreal's decisions. The NHL waiver wire is often used not just for adding players, but also for strategic moves. teams trying to shed salary, make room for prospects, or test out new talent without risking too much up front. Montreal, with their current roster and cap situation, is always watching these moves closely. In fact, the Canadiens' management has been clear about their focus on developing young players and adding depth where possible, especially as they rebuild and aim to return to the playoffs. You see, for Montreal, this period is crucial. They're not just trying to win now, they're building a foundation for the future. And that's why options like Julien Gauthier are so intriguing. His size and scoring ability, combined with his recent performances in the minors, suggest he could be a valuable addition if claimed. Plus, with the Canadiens' style of play, which emphasizes physicality and fast-paced offense, a player like Gauthier might fit perfectly into their system, giving them that extra edge in battles along the boards and in front of the net. Now, let's talk about the broader picture here. The Atlantic Division is shaping up to be fiercely competitive again this season. Teams like Toronto, Boston, and Tampa Bay are loaded with talent, making every point precious. For Montreal, every move counts, and adding the right players at the right time can make all the difference. The waiver wire is one of those opportunities to find hidden gems, or at least add some depth to challenge for a playoff spot. And of course, fans are always eager to see how these moves pan out. Will Gauthier or Foudy get claimed? Will Montreal hold back and wait for the right moment? Or perhaps they'll make a different move altogether, targeting other assets or prospects. The coaching staff, led by Martin St. Louis, continues to evaluate their options, trying to balance development and competitiveness, all while keeping an eye on the big picture, returning to Stanley Cup contention. Now, for those of you who follow the Canadiens closely, you know that the team's leadership and management are always looking for ways to improve. The recent injuries, like Reinbacher's fracture, have added a layer of urgency. The team needs to fill those gaps, and the waiver wire is a great avenue for that. Plus, with the season still in its early stages, there's plenty of time to see how these players fit into the team's plans. Sometimes, a player who's waived and clears can be a diamond in the rough, a player who suddenly finds his rhythm and becomes a key contributor down the line. Let's not forget that the Canadiens have a core of young talent that's eager to prove themselves. Florian Exekej, for example, continues to impress with his physicality and willingness to stand up for his teammates. His gritty style is exactly what Montreal has been cultivating, a team that plays hard and never backs down. The addition of new faces via waivers could complement that identity, giving Montreal more options in their bottom six or as injury replacements. Now, looking ahead, the Canadiens are likely to keep a close eye on the waiver wire, not just today but throughout the season. They'll analyze every move, every player available, and see if they can find someone who fits their system and can make an immediate impact. The management's approach seems to be about smart, strategic additions, players who can help them climb the standings, but also develop into future stars. And let's be honest, fans, this is what makes following the Canadiens so exciting. The constant search for the next piece of the puzzle, the possibility of discovering a hidden gem like Gauthier or Foudy, or even a veteran who can provide leadership and stability. It's these moments that keep us glued to our screens, eager for the next game, the next move, the next story. So, as we wrap up this update, I want to emphasize that the NHL waiver wire is a dynamic, ever-changing landscape. Today, it's about 8 players, but tomorrow, it could be about new prospects, trades, or signings that reshape the league. For Montreal, every move is an opportunity to build, to improve, and to get closer to that Stanley Cup dream once again. The team's future is bright, and with the right additions, they can accelerate their path back to the playoffs and beyond. And now, Montreal Canadiens fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on these waiver moves? Do you think Montreal should claim Julien Gauthier or Foudy? Or do you believe they should hold tight and wait for a better opportunity? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Canadiens. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Montreal Canadiens news. We're in this together, and your passion fuels this channel. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Habs.